everyone. Welcome to the Glow podcast. I am here today with a very exciting guest. I have Ashleigh here with me. And for those of you just joining us, we are Tailored Marketing and we help skincare brands grow their businesses and increase their revenue. So if you're interested, drop a comment below. Ashleigh, I'm so excited to have you here today. Will you just kind of go ahead and give an introduction so the audience knows who you are?
Hi, Taylor. Yes, of course. I'm so happy to be here. My name's Ashleigh Frager, and I'm the founder of Back to Basics. And we started back in 2016. And before that, I was a homeopath and had a private practice and segued into this when I got around the time that I got married, and have been the founder of Back to Basics ever since.
Wonderful. I love it. And so obviously, like you said, you were a homeopath before. So for people that don't know kind of what that practice is, could you give us just a little bit of, a short, concise version of what that is kind of so people understand?
Sure. So we get lumped in with the other alternative medicines a lot, but it's actually quite different from what you find with naturopathy or Chinese medicine or Chinese herbs. So homeopathy was developed by a German physician over 200 years ago, and it's a very specific form of medicine that really looks to find the root cause of the issue. So you're looking at someone's symptoms and using those as these little red flags that'll take you to find the information you need to get to the root cause of the issue. And the healing that you go through with it is to elicit that healing. You use homeopathic remedies, which is very different from pharmaceuticals or even very different from supplements, vitamins, or herbs. It is working with the body on a much more subtle level to try and give your body information to actually heal itself. So it's a very different approach. You're not forcing your body into anything, but it can be very, very powerful.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And I think from like our first conversation too, it's almost like it's not really necessarily like adding things. It can be, but it's a lot of removing some of like these environmental factors that could be causing harm to our bodies.
Yeah, that's where I kind of took homeopathy a step further. With homeopathy, you're really just using it as a system of medicine. So you figure out what the issue is, because similarly to conventional medicine, you're isolating an issue and then prescribing a medicine to it. The difference in that is that you are using a medicine that doesn't create side effects. So that's very different from conventional medicine and from using pharmaceuticals. It's similar in that you are just finding an issue and offering a medicine for it. Where I kind of went off the beaten track is I was looking at things that in homeopathy we call obstacles to cure. And that's what got me really interested in what these toxins in our environment, in our homes, like things that we're putting on our bodies, bringing into our lives, what those were doing to us, and if it was creating blockages to healing. And I found that, yes, spoiler alert, yes.
Yeah.
It's creating havoc in ways that you would be really surprised to find out.
Yeah, no, I believe it for sure. And that's so interesting can you explain kind of how your prior knowledge, obviously in homeopathy, led you kind of to starting Back to Basics? I know you kind of started going into it a little bit, but could you kind of tell us a little bit further how that led you to kind of where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think we need to go back even a step further to how I discovered homeopathy in the first place, because like most people, I was pretty clueless as to what homeopathy even was. I'd heard it thrown around. I had never used it, at least not effectively. And I was at a point in my life where I had just graduated from college. I had moved to LA. I was pursuing a completely different career path than what I'm on now. And one day I got really sick, and I didn't think much of it at first. The symptoms seemed a little weird, things I hadn't experienced before. The first symptom that really came on was a shortness of breath, and immediately had to go to urgent care, and they did all these tests. It wasn't asthma, so couldn't really figure out what that was. They said, come back if it gets worse. The next day it was much worse. I could only sip little bits of air through, and started getting a little panicked, because when you can't breathe, that's a scary feeling.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
natural to get panicky over it. But it just kept going on like this. this for about 5 days. Every day it would get a little bit worse. I'd go into the ER, urgent care, go see a specialist. They couldn't figure anything out. So in conventional medicine, if you can't get a diagnosis, you cannot get a prescription. So they didn't really do much with me. And then the week after, I started getting new and different symptoms. Then I started getting vertigo to the point where I couldn't drive anymore. I couldn't even sit up to have a conversation with you, sit up to have a meal at a restaurant. I had to be leaning against something propped up all the time to try and lessen the vertigo. Then chronic fatigue set in to the point where I couldn't leave my apartment. I was sleeping all day. My big move of the day would be from my bed to the couch. That was like my big accomplishment. So obviously I couldn't work. All that was happening was my mom had moved down from NorCal at that point and was living with me and just taking me to doctor's appointments, finding every specialist that we could to try and figure out, because all these symptoms seem very, very unrelated at the time.
Yeah, it seems disjointed for sure.
It did, yes, like neurological issues, lung issues. And so we're trying to find all these specialists to isolate all these different problems and figure out what could possibly be wrong and why my body was just going haywire and working against me is what it seemed like at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the symptoms got so bad that I ended up in a wheelchair. My legs started giving out randomly, so I couldn't walk anymore. It got to the point where it was very, very serious and getting worse every day. There was no sign of improvement. And I was willing to do anything at that point. I never felt like the despair, I guess, never really set in for me. I was also really young and probably pretty naive. So I was like, I'm going to get through this. It's fine. I'm going to be fine. But it wasn't looking that way from a clinical standpoint. But at that point, I was really fortunate to be introduced to a homeopath that was doing really incredible and pretty groundbreaking work. And she was completely impacted at the time, more clients than she knew what to do with, but she was willing to have a chat with me just to try and get me on the right path, see if she could help point me in the right direction. And that conversation changed my entire life. She had such empathy for me. She sat down with me, and instead of doing her 1 hour consult that she was planning on, she sat down with me for 6 hours and did not let me leave until she figured out what was going on. And I absolutely owe her my life, but she taught me so much just in that first meeting of really looking at the symptoms as, for one, being interrelated. If you're experiencing all these symptoms at the same time, they're not random. You can isolate a root cause, and then all of a sudden these seemingly random puzzle pieces come together into one picture. So then in homeopathy, we're looking at the totality of symptoms, like what is everything that a person is experiencing at that given time. And what you start to find out is if you're looking at your total symptom picture and something comes in to interrupt it, this is something that commonly happens with people. They have a cold or a flu and then they sprain their ankle, and the cold or flu symptoms immediately disappear. It's because your body can't work on too many things at once. So it's like, we're going to put a pin in this. All our resources are going to this sprained ankle now. And then this sprained ankle starts to get a little bit better. And then a lot of times you'll see those cold or flu symptoms even return. Looking at it in this way was so eye-opening for me after I had been through all these specialists in conventional medicine that were like, oh, no, this couldn't possibly be related to this. Like, everything's so separate. So that right there was a breath of fresh air. And then she starts explaining homeopathy to me, where we're looking for this root cause, which made perfect sense. Like, why wouldn't we be? Instead of treating this surface level and try and make all these micro changes on this top level, like, why don't we reach deeper, solve the underlying issue, and then the symptoms won't be there. Like, it just made too much sense. So everything she was saying, I was like, yes, I'm on board, but does it work? Like, what are you giving me? Are you like sprinkling fairy dust on me? Or,
it sounds too good to be true.
Totally. I'm like, yeah, I'm on board, but what is this actually going to do to me? So I very willingly and in a very trustworthy way just stepped into what she was offering. And by the end of the week, I no longer needed the wheelchair. By the end of the month, all of the really life-threatening symptoms that I had been experiencing were completely gone. And I kept working with her throughout the year and got to a point where I was healthier than I had been in my entire life. I was experiencing a level of health that I had just come to, I think a lot of people do this. They come to think like these random symptoms they experience, oh, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
But really, they're indicators that something's off and your body's trying to communicate with you. So a lot of those type of symptoms I had completely eliminated by the end of the year and became very fascinated with homeopathy at that point.
For sure.
My homeopath was, yeah, as you would be. Something saves your life, it piques your interest. So she was an amazing mentor, but at that point, I really needed to dive deeper. So I ended up studying for my doctorate in homeopathy and learned so much more about this type of medicine and got to a point where I could really help other people as well. And to be perfectly honest, the reason I went down the path of studying for my doctorate was entirely selfish. After that experience, I felt so unempowered and really confused. Like my body was working against me. This thing that I thought was mine and like that I so identified with is now working against me. And it felt really scary. And I never wanted to experience that again. I thought if I dove really deep into homeopathy, I would never put myself in that position again. But then, the universe has magical ways of working and opened up so many other doors and opportunities to work with people that really transformed their lives as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a crazy story, honestly. Like, it almost like doesn't seem real. Like you were saying, you were like, what are you gonna sprinkle fairy dust on me? Because it's like, how am I gonna get these magical results? Like I've been struggling, I've been going to specialists, and we're not finding an answer. So how do you know that you have the answer?
Exactly. At first, I thought, I gave it every excuse in the book, like, oh, it was coincidental. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was that. But after a year of just it performing every single time, and then once I started studying it and realizing how science-backed it actually was, then I was like, okay, this is all fitting together now. And now I know how to use this tool effectively for other people as well.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly so cool too. I really didn't even realize that you could get your doctorate in homeopathy at all. Really, like I'm not super familiar with it, to be honest, but like, is it common that medical schools will have that, or is it at medical school?
It's very rare in the United States, so I felt very serendipitous that there was a school nearby me. I was living in LA. There was a school in Beverly Hills. It was one of the only ones in the United States. So
that's crazy.
That was really fortunate. But in the UK, in Australia, in India, it's much more common. It's just not that common in the US. And a conversation for another day is like, if you really dig into how the American Medical Association really came to be, homeopathy was huge in the US up until that point. So they were using homeopathy in hospitals. But at a certain point, if you're using something that heals, there is no way to profit off of it because you no longer need that medicine. So when I prescribe a homeopathic remedy to a client, they're using it 1, 2, max 5 times, 5 little pellets that are not very expensive. So if you're healed after that, if that symptom has disappeared, then I mean, there's not much profitability for the pharmaceutical company that's making it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's crazy. Yeah, everything I feel like is very, very related to money, which I'm sure we'll get to as well. But so obviously you have this huge story kind of how you got into homeopathy, and then what kind of made you make the switch from that to back to basics?
So I had been working with all of these clients, and it got to the point where I was completely overrun. I got to the point where my mentor had been. I had way too many clients. I could not possibly help any more people. I had people in all different time zones, was working all hours of the day and night. I just couldn't take on anymore. I had a 1.5-year wait list to even have a conversation with me. I could not work any harder. So at a certain point, I was like, I need to work smarter. Because I'm going to put myself right back in the position I was in, sacrificing my health for this. And I started trying to make conclusions about things that I've seen with my clients. So with homeopathy, it's very individualistic. If 5 people walked in that all had the same diagnosis, like say 5 women walked in, had breast cancer diagnosis from conventional medicine and all wanted treatment from me, I would not treat them all the same. For one, they all acquired that disease in a different way. For two, the symptoms that they're currently exhibiting are probably very different. So I'm not going to use the same exact approach with each person. So you really have to get into the backstory and really dig around, like be a detective to find that root cause, that why. And I never think of the disease as the why or the root cause. Like there's something actually deeper than that that caused the disease to manifest in us.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why when I sat down with my mentor, she spent 6 hours with me. No doctor had done that in my entire journey of being
For
ill.
sure.
But that's what I would do with my clients too. You just are looking for these needles in a haystack, and once you discover them, it just opens a complete new world of healing. So in doing that, I started realizing that even though it's very individualistic how I'm treating all these people, maybe there are some common denominators. Maybe there are some factors that everyone is having a negative reaction to or a positive reaction to. I just started getting curious. Like I had so much data from all of these clients. In my practice, I was also using a form of bioenergetic testing where I could actually see how different prescription drugs, vitamin supplements, homeopathic remedies, their shampoo, their house cleaner, whatever it was, I could actually test them to see how it was affecting their vitality. So I had all this data and I started combing through it, and that coincided with a day where I had been working from, like, got called out of bed in an emergency call, was in my PJs, never got out of my PJs until 9 p.m. It was just stacked with clients the whole day. And mind you, I worked remotely. It wasn't that awkward.
Yeah. You're like, it was only the top.
So I'm just doing client after client, testing them. Every single client that day, what I had to support them with and detox them from was synthetic fragrance. Now, that was really frustrating for me because that is something that we are introducing into our lives that is entirely avoidable. So as I'm looking at this data, I'm seeing all these things pinging up of these clients that have various diseases or various symptoms that are being caused by the toxins that they are bringing into their own lives. And I was like, okay, this goes beyond homeopathy at this point. Like if they knew better, if they weren't doing this, then they wouldn't be sick in the first place. And then there would be no cleanup duty from homeopathy or any other type of medicine. So I actually started requiring from my clients to do what I called a home consult. We would go through all of their products before they started working me in a homeopathic fashion. And we would clear out all of the things that I knew to be toxic. And I would test them for things that were questionable, but there were certain things that, like, no one was testing positively to bleach. No one was testing positively to Febreze. And like, okay, this is just common sense at this point. Like there's not just like, oh, this person's sensitive or this person has, an allergy to Febreze. No, across the board, there's no person that I could find that tested positively to this product. So those were just like some hard rules I had laid out from the beginning. Like we're removing all of these things. And what was shocking to me, I thought this would just remove some obstacles to cure, like make my job easier down the line. But what ended up being really shocking to me is that some of these people, their symptoms or diseases just melted away just from the removal of the products. And they never even needed me for homeopathic help after that. So I started testing out this theory with client after client and really started honing in on what these toxins were, how I could help more people than just my client base, because it felt a little selfish at that point that just my client base had this amazing information. Yeah. I'm like, more people need to know this. Sure. And at that point, like back in, 2015, people weren't really having conversations about products. This is before the clean beauty movement. Like this is before all of that. And so it felt like I could be a pioneer in this space. Like I knew a lot about food from all the testing I had been doing too, but there were very well-respected people talking about that already. I'm like, no, this is where I can really help.
Yeah.
And as I started coaching my clients through, okay, this laundry detergent is really toxic. It's actually causing the rash all over your back. Like, let's remove that. They would say, okay, what do I get instead? Oh, just go down to your natural grocer, pick out a better laundry detergent. They'd come back and I'd test it, and it would be testing just as badly as their
Yeah.
conventional one. Then I was like, oh, this is a whole thing. Like, these natural products are not so natural. Like, these green products people are pushing out are actually toxic as well. So I dove deeper and deeper, started calling manufacturers, like figuring out where they were sourcing their ingredients, how they were manufacturing these things, and it started taking up more and more of my time. And at that point I realized I can't do both. I can't practice and keep all of these clients while pursuing this other work. And that's where the split to back to basics came in.
Yeah, I think you're right that like it's been a movement in like the past like 5-10 years or so that people are becoming more aware of it. But then the issue is that a lot of these companies that are advertising, promoting themselves as being green or clean ingredients and stuff, as you look into it more, they're not. And the average person doesn't have the time to like do that much research if they're trying to work a 9 to 5 job. They have a family or, whatever, and those things. And
And even
so,
if they make the time, it's like they don't even have access to that type of
yeah.
information. That's what I found. And we just, as we built up Back to Basics really started as a subscription box company where I was kind of telling people, like, this is what's typically toxic in a home. Here's a better alternative. And we'd ship out a box like that. But I started realizing that some companies they lean on this, oh, well, it's our proprietary ingredient, so we're not going to tell you. And I'm like, well, if you're not going to share something like that, it's usually not that it's something that is so special to them. It's usually that it's something very toxic. And there are still ways that companies can get away with this on their ingredients list. Like, they make it look like they're telling you everything, but they're not. They're using these little ingredient loopholes to make it seem like they're being transparent, and really they're hiding a lot of toxic ingredients underneath those names.
It is kind of crazy when you do actually look a little bit more into the ingredients, but then you still don't know everything because they're not required to put everything on the list. So you said that Back to Basics started as a subscription model. So what does it kind of look like now, today, for a consumer?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. And I really feel like because we've stayed small, I've been able to follow our customers' needs and wants. And it's been really gratifying being able to do that. Because, I mean, when you start a company from a more passion driven, mission driven stance, you're able to do that. Like, I'm not married to any one thing in the company. All I'm married to is making people well and putting
Yeah.
out the type of information that will get them there. So it's made us able to be really nimble. So we started as a subscription, and then our customers really were wanting to buy the products that they were receiving. Like, they get this great body wash and be like, oh, this is so much better than what I was using. I feel much better. My skin's so much better. But do I have to wait around until you offer this again, like a body wash
Yeah.
again? Like, I want to just buy it from you. So we listened to our customers and like built out a storefront and phased out the subscription box. We made more of a like build your own subscription, which we still offer on
Yeah.
the site today. Like, if you subscribe, you get a discount, like a lot of companies are doing these days. But yeah, we started building out this storefront, and I was trying to hit every product category imaginable because so many people had like, think of all the products you use in a day, and to have
It's a
guidance
lot.
on every single one. I thought the way to give them guidance was to offer the product. But what I was doing is I was like becoming a little like clean Walmart essentially.
Yeah.
But we were such a small company that to carry that much inventory, it was a lot on us. That was a lot of overhead. It was hard to keep up with that.
Yeah.
I think in the future, what I would like to do more so is to give people those resources freely, and then to focus on the products that we do well. So after we went through that phase of like trying to carry everything and anything, then, which also took a lot of time and research for me to do,
For sure.
stay up on it, because then companies get bought and sold and change their formulations without telling us. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
But then the progression actually happened really naturally. Our customers were demanding a better all purpose cleaner. And as I went out into the market to try and find that and scoured every single natural green option out there, I couldn't find something that really fit the bill. So I was always really trying to pair clean ingredients with efficacy because I think everyone's gone through that experience with like natural deodorant. Like, oh, I don't want aluminum in my deodorant. I'm going to switch to something natural. They use it and it doesn't work. Like, just
Yeah,
not
no,
fun.
or it has heavy metals in it and not aluminum, you know. I feel
Exactly.
like a lot of them are like that now, and I think people are starting to catch on with that too.
Totally. Yes, consumers are becoming very savvy. But I never wanted our shop to be one of those of like, oh yeah, it's clean, but it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
we kept our selections limited to just like the best of the best. But with that all-purpose cleaner category, I just couldn't find something that was really had the efficacy of a conventional product, but also had really clean ingredients. So that's when I started toying with the idea of making our own. And I got linked up with these scientists out in the Midwest that were looking into this ingredient called hypochlorous acid. And it was really interesting to me because it's been around for a very long time. It's actually something that's in our bodies. So our immune systems use hypochlorous acid to heal ourselves. It's like part of our body's immune response. So if you were to get a cut and it started to get infected, or you were to get a cold or flu, your white blood cells will start making hypochlorous acid. It's like sending out this little army and it will take apart the pathogen and you'll be well again. So this is something they knew of like back in, I want to say World War I, they were toying with this and they could make hypochlorous acid outside of the body just from salt and water. And they could make it, but it would only last for an instant, but they could use it for a healing. Like if someone's leg got amputated, they could spray it in there and it would heal and at least not is turned into a massive infection. So fast forward to these scientists I got linked up with. They're looking into this. They're finding it quite fascinating, but no one could figure out how to make this product shelf stable. And so I started working with them on this and we figured out that there is a way. You just have to use a very powerful machine to do it, but you can still start with the same inert ingredients, water and salt. How much more benign does it get? No
Yeah.
one really has a reaction to that. And then once you transform those ingredients into hypochlorous acid, then really no one can have a reaction to it because it's already in your body. It's all your body sees it as is an immune booster.
Yeah.
To top it off, it's also a really powerful disinfectant once it gets to that point. So I'm like, okay, this is our company's mission in a product. Like
Yeah.
ingredients, super effective. So I got really excited about it and decided to make it our first product that we would manufacture. And it's called Cleaner Than Clean. And everyone that tries it is just like, we have the most loyal customer base just because this product is so revolutionary and really works. So we've really started leaning more and more on Cleaner Than Clean since that's what people are, once again, listening to our customers. That's what they're coming to us for. We still have a smattering of other clean offerings from other companies that are really tried and true favorites, but mostly we're focused on Cleaner Than Clean at this point.
Yeah, no, that's so cool, honestly, too, how you guys kind of came about that. And it's crazy to me that no one else is like doing it, you know, because you're really the only people in the market that are doing that right now.
Well, I think what's going to happen with hypochlorous acid is it's going to become like hydrogen peroxide. Like it's not like how we're manufacturing it is proprietary, like how we came up with the machine, how we made it shelf stable. There are companies that have tried to mimic it that are doing it in very unsafe ways. So like that part of it is ours, but I think people are going to clue on and I think it's going to become like so commonplace like hydrogen peroxide is at a certain point. But yeah, that we were kind of the first ones out there. You know, back in when did we launch this product? 2018, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really like not heard of at all. Like it's starting to become more of a conversation around it now. But I think just having the level of education we really try to give to our customers is really what sets us apart and our why behind it.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great. And does it have, because obviously you're not using like synthetic fragrance or anything, does it have a smell to it? No.
No, it doesn't, which really works well for like a lot of immune compromised
Yeah,
people. Like, a lot of customers come to us with a lot of sensitivities, and we love being able to offer a product that's so universal that no one has a negative reaction to, smell wise or, symptom wise.
for sure.
And it would actually take apart the active ingredient if we were to put any additives in it. So that's also
Okay.
how you know it's pure.
Yeah.
If we were to ever sneak something in there, you would know it because the product would not work
Yeah.
effectively.
No, that makes sense. That's super, super cool. And so with Cleaner Than Clean, back to basics, really everything within the company, obviously you're doing a lot. What are your goals kind of for like the next year or so? Is it just to continue to expand customer base with Cleaner Than Clean, or are you working on any new formulations that I don't know if you can share or not?
But we always have some stuff up our sleeves. But
Yeah.
yeah, we are going to roll out a few new products this year. Mostly, yeah, just continuing the education. I love doing podcasts. I love speaking opportunities just because our customers are really looking for the information behind what they're purchasing and really wanting to turn themselves into savvy consumers.
Yeah.
So we love connecting with those type of people, and the opportunities to do that in a longer format are through things like podcasts and speaking opportunities where you really have the time to explain all of this and for them to understand why they would be switching from the laundry detergent they've been using for 30 years and why that probably wasn't the best option, even if you haven't noticed a direct effect from it. So
Yeah.
really being able to sink in and connect with our customers that way, like that's always my main focus and my main goal. And I really think it's the reason why we have such a loyal customer base too. Like they trust us, they understand the reason why they've switched over. They're not doing it haphazardly.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important too for people to be educated. And then you have yourself such an amazing transformational story from where you were before you found homeopathy and now to where you are kind of with the practice in your own way too and helping people. So I feel like the more people can even hear how it changed your life from that state where you were struggling so much that like it's like, okay, then this is definitely gonna help me too, you know?
Yeah, it can do some pretty powerful things. It's just these minor changes that can really transform your entire life. And I think a common mistake people make is, especially now that this clean movement is gaining steam, it starts feeling like everything's toxic.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people, even customers of ours be like, oh, I just have to throw up my hands because everything's toxic and I might as well just like live in this toxic soup. But it's not
Yeah.
true. Like you can make such minor changes that will really transform your life, your health, and also not create bigger problems down the line.
Yeah.
Like making those small changes, something like removing synthetic fragrance from your life now could save you from having to go through a health incident like I did. And but at the same time, some people need to go through that. I did. Like
Yeah.
that's what it took for me to really open my eyes and make health a priority. I don't know that I would have from such a young age had I not gone through that. So, but the people that are willing to change and open to change right now, those are the people I'm trying to connect with and save them from having to go through something like that.
Yeah, and you're right. It's about small changes too. And like I've even been guilty of that before where I'm like, well, everything's toxic. So like it doesn't matter because like there's nothing that's like truly clean out there, but it's just about, like you said, making the small changes too. And maybe not everything can be perfect, but if you can make those small changes, then at least you'll be better off.
Exactly. And that's really why I wanted Back to Basics to exist too, is to give people an easy way to make those changes. Is have a resource that they can trust and not have to check every ingredient label. Like look at we put the information out there of like what you can expect from every product on our site, and just go in knowing that like everything is going to be clean. Everything has a transparent ingredient label like listed on our website. So just having that resource of like an easy way to transition, like
Yeah.
that's what I hope we can be for people.
No, that's awesome. And so tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can find you on social media, where you're giving more education, because I know you're super passionate about that as well. And I'll also put it in the show notes for easy access too.
Perfect. Yeah. Our company website is backtobasics.shop. So there's a lot of information on there, product guides and ways to swap out some of the toxic things in your lives. So that's a great starting point. And also signing up for our newsletter there. We put out a lot of information that way. And then on Instagram, if you're ever looking for little blurbs from me or whatever, and looking for recent podcast appearances or anything like that, we'll post it on Instagram. It's backtobasics_shop.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Ashleigh, for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And I loved hearing more about your story and how you came about with Back to Basics.
Thanks, Taylor.